Welcome to this week's technique class. We're going to be continuing with another etude by Giuliani from his Opus 1 set of studies. It's from part 3. We're going to be, as we did last week, using some exercises by Aguado to help with the issues which arise in the study. So like last time, I'll start by playing through the piece. So that's the piece. We're looking at slurs again, as we did last time. So it's slur patterns with 3 fingers rather than 2. Now what a lot of them have in common, not quite all of them, but the vast majority, is that the pattern uses the 4th finger on the 3rd note. So it's important that the 4th finger is strong. Let's start then with some hammer-ons with the 4th finger. We'll start here on D sharp on the 2nd string. And the reason I want to do this, I want to hammer on from nothing. Because when you've got a group of 3 notes, by the time you get to the 4th finger, the string's vibrating less than it is when you're just using 2 fingers. So in a way, the 4th finger has to hammer on a bit more forcefully when you're using 3 fingers. So if we do this exercise, we're hammering on from nothing. Of course, the hand is not burdened by the other fingers being on the string yet. But we're just going to start with this so we can revise the basic hammer-on technique. So you see, my finger's not coming from very far away. And this really is the 1-inch punch of guitar exercises or guitar skills. And we do it with a very high concentration of energy all at once. And that's why the speed of the finger is crucial. Not trying to play not lots of notes fast, but actually making sure that we move fast. It's a point I keep coming back to because it's so important to appreciate that distinction. There's a distinction between fast movements in the cases of hammer-ons and playing fast. Not the same thing. I will try the same finger on the 4th fret. On the 3rd string. And then on the 4th string. 5th, 6th, and we haven't done the 1st string yet, so we can do that now. Great. When we come to the actual piece though, we've usually got 2 other fingers on. Now we can roll those fingers off. we can keep them on. It's maybe worth practicing both ways and seeing what you like best. Keeping the fingers on has a certain stability. It gives a certain stability to the slur, or two slurs in fact, that make up the 3-note pattern. If you take the fingers off, there's a bit less of that, a bit less stability on the string. It's almost as if each finger has to come out of nowhere. But then, if you do keep the fingers on the strings, there's more demanded of the hand in terms of the slur, because you're having to do what we were just doing, this, but with 2 fingers on the string already, either 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. And it's very much harder to get that intense, focused concentration of energy. What we're going to do though, that being said, you can try it both ways. There isn't really a right or a wrong way there. But what we're going to concentrate on in this class is keeping all the fingers down, getting that stability, because that's also going to enhance the actual technique as well. It's going to give us or help us develop more strength and independence and control of the fingers. So for that reason, what I now want to do is return to that 1-inch punch with the 4th finger, but we're going to put the 1st finger on the 1st fret like this. I'm going to play the 1st finger. It's going to sound the same as it did a moment ago, but we just have the added complication of a fixed finger, the added strain of a fixed finger even. Now on the 3rd string. Now on the 4th string. On the 5th string. On the 6th string, and on the 1st string. Great. Now we're going to do the same thing again, but rather than the 1st finger being fixed, we're going to put the 2nd finger on the 2nd string. And we're going to do the same exercise. Now on the 3rd string. Now on the 4th string. Now on the 5th string. Now on the 6th string. Now on the 1st string. So, I don't know if that's starting to feel like a workout or not. Hopefully it's going to help. What we'll do now is place 1 and 2 on the string, frets 1 and 2, fingers 1 and 2, and then do the same exercise with the 4th finger. And you can observe how it changes, the feeling in the hands. 3, 4. Now onto the 3rd string. Now on the 4th string. Now on the 5th string. Now on the 6th. string. Now on the first string. Back on the second string. And stop there. You can give the hand a shake or a rest if it helps. Now sometimes in exercises like this we're using not 1, 2 and 4 but 1, 3 and 4. So if we look at the second line, third bar, second beat, we have that. So it's 1, 3, 4. That is the hardest of the combinations in this etude, because when the third finger is fixed, it makes it very much more difficult for the fourth finger to hammer on with enough power. The fourth finger is inhibited by the stillness of the third finger. So we'll try that now with the third finger only. The first and second fingers can get the break. Try and control them. Keep them close to as close as that you can to the strings. Don't let them go off wandering. Keep them close, but they're not going to be on the string. Only the third finger is going to be on the string, and we're going to hammer on with the fourth finger. 3, 4. Now on the next string. Now on the fourth string. Now on the fifth string. Now on the sixth string. And on your own you might need to do more of this one. It is harder. And now on the first string. Back to the second string. Now what we're going to do is add the first finger. So the first finger is now down as well. First and third. Now on to the third string. Still first and third fingers fixed. Now onto the fourth string. Now onto the fifth string. Now onto the sixth string. Now onto the first string. Great. So that gets the fourth finger trained up for what's required. Now we're going to look at the Aguado method. If you remember from last week's lesson, these are slur exercises which take a scale. We go up a scale. Usually it's an F scale. For some reason this one he makes it a G scale, and we go. He doesn't write it out all the way. It's a kind of etc. type thing. So you've got to know that scale on one string, as I mentioned last time. Now that's how you should practice it on your own. But for this class, we'll just stick to exactly what's printed, and that'll avoid any confusion, and we can focus on the actual slurs. So you see, these are the exact slurs that are in the piece. Slightly different fret spacing. This is a little bit more difficult because 1 and 2 are now extended. But well, that's going to still help us, make us better. So let's just play what's there. 3 and 4 and again. 3 and 4 and so we've got 3 1 2 4s, but here we have a 1 3 4. Let's try it again. 3 and 4 and now we'll do that on the second string. 3 and 4 and now we'll do it on the third string. 3 and 4 and on the fourth string. 3 and 4 and the fifth string. 3 and 4 and now the sixth string. 3 and 4 and so that's basically what Aguado has written. You see he's got a little variation of doing them fast. And that's really good as well, because that's much more like it is in the piece. In fact, it's exactly the same as it is in the study. But before we go on to that, I want to look back at the study. I'm going to share the screen and point something out in the piece. So we have these leaps going from the second string to the first string up in a different position. And here we've got a leap from the first string, and in the next bar we have the slur on the fifth string, then back to the first string again, then the next line we're back to the fifth string, jumping about, which adds an extra layer of complication. Now if I just play maybe from second line, third bar, lots of jumping around. So here's a suggestion for how to adapt the Aguado exercises. What we're going to do is we're going to go up the scale, but we're going to leap between octaves. In fact, we're going to leap 2 octaves, because we're going to do the scale like this. On the first string, then we'll go up to the 5th fret, but rather than playing the A, B, C on the first string, we'll play the A, B, C on the 6th string. And then we'll go up to the 7th fret and play the B, C, D on the first string, and then up to the 8th fret and play it, but to the 6th string, and play the C, D, E on that string. So we're going to practice leaping and changing position at the same time. Let's try that now. It's not written in the Aguado music, but it's a way of creatively adapting the exercises for our purposes. So we'll try that now. I'll give a 2-beat counting. 3 and 4 and let's try that again. 3 and 4 and the last time. 3 and 4 and now let's switch it round so that the first beat's now going to be on the 6th string, the second beat on the first string, third beat on the 6th, fourth beat on the first. 3 and 4 and again, 3 and 4 and now you can go on and on adapting it like that. We can make the position shifts bigger. So for example, we could go between the first and third beats, skipping the second beat, like this. but with the string change. We could do this. Which is to change the order. Go up, miss one, but then go back and do it, then miss the next one. Yeah, so on. Now if we change strings. So lots of ways to creatively adapt it. And then of course, I see the time, but we're starting to run out of it. And there's one other thing I want to get to. We can practice the second part where it's actually more like the piece. In a similar way. Okay, last aspect of the piece, and a way we can adapt the Aguado exercise to help us. The bass notes. So you might notice that the way I was playing it was that the slurs, the grace notes, were played before the bass note. So the bass note landed on the final note of the group of three. For guitarists, it's more natural to go. So that is putting the bass with the first note of the pattern. Now there's absolutely nothing wrong with practicing it like that, and in fact maybe you should practice it like that in order to learn the piece and to perfect the actual slurs. But it adds an extra level of technical, well, when you're able to do it, technical achievement, to be able to land the bass note with the slurred upper note. So let's look at how we can quickly work on that, because it requires quite a lot of coordination. Let's go back to our 1-inch punch. And what we're going to do is add a bass note to that. We'll add an A. Lovely augmented fourth interval. Let's stay on the D sharp with the fourth finger, but we'll change to the D string, then the A string. Now the E string. Now most of the slurs in this piece end with the fourth finger, but occasionally it's the second, but you might come across other pieces where it's the third or the first, so we need to be able to land those fingers with these bass notes as well. So let's try the 1-inch punch with the third finger with our bass notes. Trying as much as possible to get them to land at exactly the same time. So 4 A's with the bass, now we're going on to a D, 4 times, now an E, 4 times. Then we'll do the same again but with the second finger. A 4 times, D 4 times, E 4 times. Now the first finger, A 4 times, D 4 times, E 4 times, A. Okay, that's quite a good exercise. And of course you can then add the fixed fingers to that as well. That's 1, 3 fixed. You can also practice 1, 2, 3 fixed. For hammering on with the fourth finger. We didn't do that because it doesn't come up in the piece, but it's a good thing to practice. And you can go through the whole thing, so you can go through everything we did in the first half of the class, but with a bass note added. So because you're not actually plucking the string that you're slurring onto, what you're having to do is coordinate a thumb stroke with a left-hand slur, rather than coordinating a thumb stroke with a right-hand finger pluck, which we do all the time anyway, and which we generally can do if both strokes are free stroke. It gets more complicated if one's a wrist stroke, but that's for another class. Okay, last thing, let's look at the Aguado again. So we're going to look at this number 2 part again, where the grace notes are quite like what we're doing. We're going to play a G bass along with the grace note, but we're going to land that bass with the upper note, like this. 3, 4. Let's do it again. 3, 4. And again. 3, 4. That's a way to practice that technique. And then lastly, I'll go back to the the piece and show you something else that happens. When we're on the slurs on the lower string, we then have to land an upper note with that bass note. That's it. Let's stop the share. Practice the Aguado on another string. Again. Once more. Changing the speed slightly of the grace notes. That's another thing as well. But that's a way to adapt that exercise for that aspect of the piece. But just a little bit of news. We did the John Ray podcast, Unwound podcast on guitar making, and it was really good. He was a great guest, had a lot of interesting things to say. Great, that's going to appear sometime in the next few days. So we'll leave it there for this week. Hope that was helpful. We're going to carry on with some Giuliani. I think they bring up a lot of good points. So we'll do that again next week. And until then, all the best.